Hi, I'm Jill Stannard. I am a naturopath and herbalist, and I've been doing this for over 30 years. Today, I want to change the narrative around menopause. Yep, you know the horror story, and this is repeated in almost every media I read on menopause. So the story goes, I was going to lose my job, my relationship, my sanity because I couldn't deal with the hot flushes and the changes in sleep and this, that and the other. Then I told my doctor and my doctor said, hey, you can take HRT. It's really safe these days. Now, I'm not here to shame women who take HRT, but I'm going to say there are a different way. And just also all that research that was previously found around the slight increased risk of breast cancer when you are on HRT is true. What has been found is that if you're in the estrogen type only when you do not have a uterus, it's not a significant risk. But as most women who go onto HRT over 45 still have a uterus, then that still carries that risk because they need that estrogen and progesterone type of drug, and that's where the risk lies. So what do? You've got hot flushes, you are not sleeping well, and this is hell. It might last for 6 months, it might last for 10 years. Well, my story is that at 50, things were still going along normally. I was technically in perimenopause, but nothing had significantly changed. And then I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, which meant the first step was surgery. Surgery took out the whole reproductive shaboodle. So no ovaries meant I went straight into menopause. So it was quite tough. Actually, this is the toughest way to go into menopause. Most women have a gradual slowdown of hormone release, but this is a bit brutal. And same for women who are put on certain medications and it blocks their ovarian function. And it's the toughest way. You kind of go from 100 to 0. And probably in my case, I was at about 90%. So I went from 90% to 0 just like that. And yes, there were hot flushes. Yes, there was sleep disturbance. There was a change in libido, but also there was a lot of other stress going on in my life. I had just been diagnosed with cancer, a cancer at that point that had a 46% 5-year survival, just a few days before I had the surgery. And then I had to go into treatment and there was a lot to deal with. So hopefully your menopause won't start so abruptly. So how did I manage it? Well, I put all my naturopathic practice into practice and did what I had been doing with working with women for decades around this. What I believe is that as our reproductive hormones dial down, it actually shows a bit of a crack, which shines a light on the stresses in your life. If your career, your job is unfulfilling or it's too much, if your relationship isn't supporting you and you're in the sandwich generation, sandwiched between aging parents and growing kids, then menopause will show you where your life is not working. Even if you have a stressful thought, such as, I'm going to run late for the train, flush. Flushes are your body's biofeedback to say, stress is occurring. They're also your body's biofeedback to say, hey, your relationship with alcohol has changed. My body can no longer cope with alcohol quite the same way as it used to. But there's an upside to menopause that we don't talk about. So for me, a lifelong sufferer of endometriosis and a few other gynae curveballs, I have not missed my periods for a moment. But the other thing that really surprised me was just how at the mercy of my hormones I was in terms of my moods. I wouldn't say it's a people pleaser, but when we ovulate, even if we're 49 and are very unlikely to get pregnant, Our primitive biology says, hey, pick me. I'm bright, I'm shiny, I'm ovulating, I'm here to reproduce. So it kind of brings a bit of people-pleasing behavior. And there's that whole wave through the cycle. You know, you really peak around ovulation, and then moods tend to drop or get anxious in the lead up to your period. What happens with menopause is that variation isn't as obvious. At first, when you're bleeding on and off, you are going to get that cycle. It can be strange. But when you stop having periods, when you stop ovulating, that amplitude is more like that. I never would have said pre-menopause that I was really emotionally labile, that, you know, I thought I was pretty emotionally stable. But I tell you what, that emotional stability after menopause is amazing. It is amazing. So let's start to celebrate some of the positive changes that come with menopause. We know all the horror stories, but most of those horror symptoms can be managed naturally if you're prepared to work with your life, your lifestyle, your diet, and perhaps take a few herbs to support your nervous system. Whether we like it or not, we're in training for the next stage in our life. You can't fight that. So let's embrace it and make it work for us. The third positive, I'm going to say, in relation to coming out the other side of menopause is you've seen the cartoons. Basically, when you are of a certain age as a woman, when you're not driven by that reproductive desire to mate and to, you know, keep a relationship and whatever else and to please people, you may have a little bit of a, I couldn't give a rat's. It can help you decide what's important in your life. And times when you might have bent yourself out of shape for other people, you might say, you know what? I'm going to put myself first for a change. So if you're struggling with menopause, you're welcome to get in touch with me. My website is jillstanner.com.au. That's Jill with a G. And just type into that little search box, the top right of the page, menopause, and there's a heap of resources. If you want to take that further, you can click the booking link and we can work together. So let's celebrate menopause. Let's change the narrative. It's actually not that bad.